This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey guys, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review here on the WWE Podcast. It is SummerSlam week as we roll on here, and lots more audio to come, obviously, with our preview and predictions that are coming later this week, and our NXT review and mailbag and all the rest of the official SummerSlam review that will have, obviously, my reactions to every match by match. The kind of analysis will be probably Sunday. So instead of the weekend review, it'll be my Sunday kind of SummerSlam recap and reactions. Now, if something major happens, I will try to get onto the show sooner than that. All right. If something crazy happens, then I will definitely be on earlier in a more of a kind of instant reaction, shorter version of the SummerSlam review. I'll be out of town, but again, if something crazy happens, I will try to cram it in and get you guys my instant thoughts on SummerSlam. But let's get to it, guys, with Monday Night Raw. And if you want this show, by the way, and every show we do from SummerSlam and beyond ad-free, go to Patreon or go to Apple Podcasts or use Spotify. They have an ad-free option. All right. Well, SummerSlam is upon us, and they had the final build here from Monday Night Raw's side of things. And I have to say, for the most part, I really enjoyed Monday Night Raw. Particularly what stands out to me are the promos. Not every promo was a home run, but the format of some of these pre-taped promos, the production of them, Gunther in the seats, Liv Morgan by a burning bonfire, among others. It was so good. So good. I don't know what struck me about it this week, but this week really set in for me. I know they've done a little bit of this in the past, but this is the first Raw that I can think of that they really went kind of full steam ahead with this type of promo. The one I really enjoyed, again, among others, was the Liv Morgan promo, where she has mascara running down her face, presumably from crying, burning Dom's vest, Rhea's picture, some other items, talking about how this Sunday the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour will be complete. Rhea responds in kind. It's just so good. I don't know. I mean, I loved it. Liv Morgan continues to elevate herself to a level that admittedly I didn't think she could get to. I was not, if you can go back and you want to fact check me against myself, I was not a fan of the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour when it started. I remember making fun of it, saying this is stupid. This Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, what is she getting revenge against? And she wasn't even focusing on Rhea upon her return, and it was all kind of silly. And boy, things change quickly, don't they? Liv Morgan found exactly what balance of her character needs, like what that character is. This is great. Now, what does she do when the whole Dom Rhea storyline moves on? We'll see. This can't last forever, but there's a strong case to be made, a very strong case for Rhea Ripley to not win at SummerSlam, and I still think, I'm tipping my hand a bit, but I still think that Rhea Ripley does not and will not win at SummerSlam. Mainly due to Dom. I think Dom is in line for a Rhea Ripley betrayal of the largest order. Outright screwing Rhea. There's no kind of fogginess about that situation. I think it'll become very clear that Dom had fallen for Liv and will help Liv retain. And then Rhea's on a manhunt, not just for Liv, but for Dom to get her hands on Dom. Rhea's heartbroken, but takes her heartbreak out in anger making Rhea an even bigger babyface. I don't think there's a need to really have Rhea win the belt again. We've seen that before. Yes, she didn't actually lose it. She had to relinquish it due to injury. But the Liv Morgan WWE World Championship run is working. It's working and working very well. She doesn't feel like an interim champion. This storyline is still very intriguing, even if you think that, oh, Dom's made his choice with Rhea. I'd caution you against that. I think they're setting you up for a swerve at SummerSlam. But does what I want align with what I think WWE will do? That often doesn't match up. So you have to wait completely to see my decision for the preview show that's coming later this week. I'll try to crank that one in the lineup before Friday. Normally I'd wait till Friday, but I'm traveling on Friday. I can't do it on Friday, so maybe I'll do that tomorrow or Thursday. I'll figure out. But nonetheless, so I wanted to just give praise where it's due to the Rhea Ripley. She's standing there again, burning all the items as a crazy ex would do. And it worked well. Worked really well. So very effective. And we'll get to some of those other promos that use that similar format later in the show. I know, again, Gunther did one that's sitting in the seats. He had a match against Finn Balor, which I guess I'll just talk about that. I mean, Gunther has taken, I don't know if a backseat's the right word, kind of a lateral seat to the other top stories, because let's be honest, Priest versus Gunther for the world title doesn't get most people on paper excited. On paper. But I think, again, praising the talent and creative, they have made you care when most fans didn't think that they could make them care in a story where Priest they're framing him as a guy from the streets, had to scratch and claw his way, where Gunther was handed everything and given the best training facilities and the best trainers, and basically, had a silver spoon in his mouth, was born with one. And so they're positioning each guy as one's relatable, one's not. One had to earn everything. The other was handed everything, which is not entirely true, of course. Not even close. Gunther has earned every spot that he's gotten. His work ethic is second to none. He's one of the most physical guys in the company. He didn't just come on the roster and immediately win a world title. He's been with the company for how many years and still has not won a world title? So he's not exactly a guy that, when you really think about it beyond the surface level, what they're positioning him as, but I'm willing to buy it. I'm fine with it. It's not a complaint. You have to position them as such. They're heels, baby faces, good guys, bad guys. You have to give them good and bad traits accordingly. So I'm on board for it. And looking forward to this match. I mean, even to a point where I didn't think I'd get to as well. Same with the Liv stuff. Everything seems to be peaking. For me, anyway. You guys may completely disagree. Find this card very boring. You're underwhelmed. And fine. Absolutely. I could see on paper where a lot of people feel that way, or you're just simply not interested. Again, this is one of the most subjective things you can do, is give your opinion on a pro wrestling card, same with any kind of sport or entertainment outlet. So, but for me, Priest versus Gunther is a match that I'm not going to want to miss. It's not a bathroom break by any means, because I also think there's a strong chance Gunther wins here. Now, Gunther also won against Finn Balor here in the main event of Raw by putting him to sleep. The sleeper hold. I love this. That was a finish back in the day. A clothesline was a finish back in the day. Believe it or not, it was. A superplex was a finish back in the day. And I mean like 30, 40 years ago, but it was. A DDT not too long ago was a finish that has been transitioned into just a part of everyone's moveset. The super kick, we know what they've done to that thing. My God. That was most famously Shawn Michaels' finish. So once in a while, to see a move that actually should put someone out, do that, and actually put somebody out, is refreshing. That kind of stuff should happen a little bit more often. Not all the time. A finish is a finish for a reason. But every once in a while, why not? Make the unpredictable matches a reality. And I like this. It was a nice touch that I didn't see coming, but it added another potential finish for a matchup, not just for Gunther, but for any matchup. You're thinking in the back of your head, whoa, wait a minute. This actually is not a move that they're going to fight out of. Or maybe it's not automatic now. That's what I like, the little seed of doubt. So Gunther gets attacked by Priest at the end of the match. Ends up roughing him up pretty good. Gunther was pretty exhausted, but hey, it's not a obviously easy sport, and Gunther seemed winded, but Priest put a beating on him. Gunther tries to fight back. The Prime bottles get involved. Which, by the way, I don't know if anyone has tried Prime. If you don't like fake sugar, boy, you're going to hate Prime. It is so sweet. I don't mind fake sugar. My wife hates it. So this is her nightmare drink. But for me, I mean, Logan Paul aside, it's not a bad drink if you like super sweet fake sugar stuff. So that's the little caveat. But I like this ending. Nice way to end the show in chaos. And it, again, makes everything kind of come to a boiling point for SummerSlam in just a few days. So I enjoyed the heck out of that. Now, I've kind of I feel like I'm being too gushy about the show because, and in general, I did enjoy Raw. I did. But on brand with this show, I can't continue this show much longer without giving a little bit of criticism. And this is, believe it or not, coming with the Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and CM Punk segment that opened the show. And this criticism mainly is directed at Seth Rollins, where we could see a heel turn at SummerSlam. It's possible. I don't think it's likely, but it's at least possible. That is really secondary to my larger issue with this, which is not the fact that Seth is even the referee, although there's an argument to be made that it's kind of disappointing that Seth's not in a wrestling role on one of the biggest events of the year. But that aside as well, it really, for me, is more of him taking his personality to a point where it overshadows all of the good that has been done with Drew and Punk. That has been a very serious program. There's been no joking around. It's been very serious. Punk has had his moments to annoy Drew, but in a way that you know is going to ignite things, not to try to actually be funny. And for me, Seth Rollins coming out with his attire that he does, and which I'm kind of back and forth on. Seth Rollins is, of course, a premier talent. We know what he's capable of. But I am getting and wearing a bit thin on his, I don't know if outfits, his aura, his need to be, I don't know if comedic or outlandish. He doesn't try to be a stand-up comedian, but he obviously is going for the attention with his attire and his outlandish, ridiculous outfits that he knows are ridiculous, but that's the point. And I think that overshadowed a little bit of what this role is supposed to be as the referee. I'm not a fan of his, I don't even know how to describe the stuff he was wearing on Raw with the referee shirt being overblown and all. I didn't like it. Even worse for me with Seth was the idea that he's just going to do whatever he wants and that every referee was too scared to take this match. Why? That's your job as a referee. I mean, that's your job, is to officiate matches with competitors that viscerally hate each other in story. I mean, so there's that. And then, again, Seth saying he's just going to do what he wants. If I want to have a 10 count or a 20 count or count to 1,000,000, I will. If I want to enforce disqualification, I will, or maybe I won't. It's so the story's now become, unfortunately, it's shifted the focus from Drew and Punk, which hasn't even had a chance to breathe yet and have a single match, to Seth and who's he going to disqualify and who's he going to maybe attack. And I think this, to me, is a little too, if you want to put Seth in this match as a referee, do that in like the second match or the third match if it goes that far. But to put him in the first one where they haven't even had a chance to really work out the issue between one another, and it's now this more focus on Seth as the referee, I think that's a mistake. Then he makes it a little less serious, which hurts this program a little bit. And you have this focus now on the referee. Yes, it's Seth. Yes, I understand he's a special guest referee. Yes, I understand that he's going to get into a program with Punk at some point in the near future. I understand that. We all understand that. But can we at least just focus on Drew versus Punk for now? We'll get to Punk and Seth later. It's going to happen. But the focus is on now Seth. And again, you know that you're going to be watching this match and thinking, all right, who is Seth going to be biased to? He's probably going to show an equal amount of bias, but it's essentially, and by the way, the referees don't make the rules. I'm fairly sure that's how WWE works. Is like the referees don't make the rules, they enforce them. That's like saying that the police make the laws, they don't enforce them. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. They act in the same way that a referee does, enforcing the rules that are already in place. They don't create them. They don't manipulate them. At least they're not supposed to. They don't selectively enforce them. Again, they're not supposed to. We all know that police obviously selectively enforce laws, and we know that. But from a referee perspective, it's kind of the same deal. So Seth coming in and all of a sudden now he's the main focus, or trying to make himself the main focus. No. You can't make the rules and also enforce the rules that also could change at any moment. How does that work? And also, you know, at some point in this match, there's going to be inadvertent physicality against Seth. Seth will get knocked down. He'll retaliate with a stomp, maybe to one or both of them. And then it could have an effect on the outcome, which you know is unfortunately going to be the case. There's not going to be a clean finish to this one. You know damn well they're setting up Seth to have some kind of say on this match. If they don't, I'll be very surprised and I'll be glad. There's time for that tomfoolery down the line. But why are we doing this at a point when it's SummerSlam, when these two haven't even met yet? They've been building Drew versus Punk for how many months? 6, 7 months since Drew injured Punk at Royal Rumble? He injured him. And now we're getting the focus on not Drew, not Punk, not Drew versus Punk, but rather Seth Rollins. Again, I know that you got to have Seth do something, I guess. But why not have him come out after the match, attack somebody after the match? I don't know. You don't need this way to get to Punk versus Seth. That's already built into the cake. We're baked in. We know that's going to happen. We've already gotten Drew versus Seth as well, so we know that's not really that intriguing because it's a great matchup. They work very well together, two pros, but we've been there, done that multiple times. That's not really something that's that exciting. Is this building to, oh my God, imagine if they have a triple threat? Do we really need this setup to do that? Do we really need this overshadowing of Drew versus Punk? And again, I sound annoyed because I am. You had this great rivalry being built up for several months, half of a year. And now the focus is on the charismatic, I don't know if overbearing is the word, but this outlandish character, Seth Rollins. So it's just a bit annoying. So I wanted to counter too much positivity with something. I got to give you guys something bad to write about. Give me a 1-star review on Apple Podcasts. Right? I need to give you some material. I can't give you a too positive of a review of things, and otherwise I won't be on brand. So anyway, I still am excited for Seth. As a special referee, I guess, and Drew and Punk, which I hope is really the focus here. But it's not going to be. With Seth Rollins in the match, it can't just be the focus on Drew and Punk. But they had some good They had a good promo against one another. I enjoyed the heck out of that. I enjoyed their verbal exchange, which is always really good. Drew on the microphone continues to get better. Punk, what level he's at. So it's overall, the program has been hurt a little bit, but not enough for me to just disregard this match as a throwaway by any means. All right. The Wyatt Sicks, they finally all come out as a group. Nikki Cross ends up attacking the Alpha, well, not the Alpha Academy, I guess. It's whatever Chad's new group is with the Creed brothers. She ends up doing a crossbody on Chad Gable after the the tag team match between the Creed brothers and Akira Tozawa and Otis. And I'm surprised they went to that match so quickly. I'm okay with it because Chad hasn't really had a one-on-one match, or he hasn't had a match with Otis, which is the match we all want. So that match hopefully is still something they're considering after all this build-up and abuse. And Otis still hasn't really got his hands on Gable, although he did give him a shot to the head on Raw. Now here's the thing. That the formula for Otis and Akira Tozawa is Akira Tozawa getting his ass kicked and getting the hot tag to Otis. That's the formula because it has to be. Akira Tozawa has been defined down for years at this point as a dancing buffoon, as a ninja, chasing the 24/7 title at one point, a guy that is just going to get his ass kicked and lose under a minute. That's who he's been. So he can't suddenly be this all-world athlete that can go with the best of them. It doesn't make sense. So Otis is essentially in a group that's 1.5 men. So he's going to have to recruit a third. Yes, there's Maxine, but we all know obviously Maxine isn't going to wrestle, in the ring with the Creed brothers or Chad. She did slap him though. That was a fun moment, and Chad got annoyed and he was about to seemingly maybe retaliate, and that's when the Wyatt Sicks music hit, and Nikki Cross did, but she did. But more importantly, we had the rest of the members come out. Right, we had Joe Gacy, Eric Rowan, and Dexter Lumis. Obviously, Nikki Cross with the Uncle Howdy, who is being played by Bo Dallas. So we had all the guys and gals come out, and they aren't hiding behind the masks. That was also kind of a cool thing too. They didn't attack in their masks. They revealed themselves. That I think is important to humanize them. This group is not so much on the magic and the magic tricks, the parlor tricks, the smoke and mirrors, the teleportation, all that stuff that sometimes Bray would do. And he was good at it, but at times it got a little too hokey. They aren't relying on that. They're just a group of misfits that have troubled pasts that fans right now are clinging on to. You have a guy in Eric Rowan. It's kind of just so cool that he's still a part after all these years, 10 years later, since the Wyatts originally debuted, still a part of a Wyatt group. All this time later, Eric Rowan is still here doing this. And it's incredible. And yes, and sadly, it's in memoriam of Bray, not with Bray. But he's with Bray's brother, so there's a little bit of solace in that. And having Bo Dallas doing what he's doing in memoriam of his brother, continuing his legacy, being Uncle Howdy. He does have a striking resemblance to his brother in some certain lightings. It's pretty cool. And targeting Chad Gable is a lot of fun, and it's still kind of... Did we ever get a real explanation as to why they're targeting Chad? I'm sure we did. Was it because he betrayed his family and they don't like people that betray their families or something? Right? But it's still a good story with especially these VHS tapes that we get to see. And we get to understand what's going on in their brains. Do we understand everything? No, we don't. It is a little bit still mystical. It does have a little bit of element of the confusion of Bray Wyatt stories that just kind of inherently come along with them, of why are they exactly targeting who they are? What is your purpose? Why are you using VHS tapes? But I don't dislike this story at all. I think it's still intriguing. The fans, for some reason, still chant "Holy S" and "You effed up." Why? Is it really in a Holy S moment to see Eric Rowan in the ring? Now, maybe it's the connection to Bray. Maybe I think that's really what that really is. That's what that expression is emoting, is the connection to Bray Wyatt and how Bray Wyatt's no longer with us, but it still kind of feels like he is. And that Eric Rowan, who's the really bridge back to the group, obviously, that Bray Wyatt originally was with, and the Wyatt family, and sure, you have his actual brother there. And I also think it's the presentation of this group. The presentation is these guys are world beaters, that they have inherently some magical powers that they don't use often, which I appreciate. And they're a group of just misfits that have found one another and are bonding over a common sickness, if you will, pun intended. And I think that's really what it is. It's the presentation and the connection back to Bray's why they're chanting it. Because let's be real with one another. Would they really be chanting that if Nikki Cross and Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, and Dexter Lumis all came out and stood there? No, they wouldn't. So it's not so much the people that are there, but what this group represents, which is why I think we're getting those Holy S chants. And "You effed up," I get it. It means like you're about to deal with somebody that can't be beat. That's what that means. So I do wonder when we're going to get the one-on-one of Chad Gable against Uncle Howdy, because that's what this is building to. It's not obviously going to happen at SummerSlam, but it should happen in relatively short order at the next PLE after SummerSlam. And then they'll maybe move on from there. But in the meantime, they also still have Otis and Akira Tozawa to deal with. So they also have that kind of building on the side. And it's still overall a pretty interesting story. One that I think we have most fans' interest in. You know, it's a callback to Bray Wyatt, and people still like to see that Bray Wyatt lives on, even if he's actually not here anymore. So kind of cool. All right, let's continue with Monday Night Raw. Some things that were not on the Hulu version. Let's see. I know that's Sheamus versus, who was it? Was it Bronson Reed? No, it was Sheamus versus Bronson Reed. Was not a part of the Monday Night Raw Hulu cut. And this match ended with Sheamus losing to Bronson Reed in 10 minutes. And this was Sheamus. The finish was Sheamus coming back with white noise and got a near fall. And then he hit the 10 beats. And Reed's foot was somehow caught on the ropes. And the referee tried to free him. And then we had Pete Dunne show up, hit Sheamus with a shillelagh, and then sat down at ringside, and Reed limped to the ropes and hit a tsunami and got the victory because of Pete Dunne, i.e. Butch. And it's nice to see, Bronson Reed doesn't win a whole lot of matches, which is weird given his size and how they have been kind of hot and cold on him, not seemingly having a long-term plan for him just yet. But it's nice to have him get some kind of momentum where he needs the victories. Sheamus doesn't need them. He's a future Hall of Famer. Sheamus does not need any kind of victory at this point unless you're trying to push him to another level and maybe get him to the world title scene at some point. And I think they should. It'd be kind of cool to see Sheamus in the world title picture one last time before he calls his career over. But the shillelagh, cool to see. It's a throwback to Fit Finlay. And if you remember that, Fit Finlay and Hornswoggle, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. All right. We got Jey Uso versus Carlito. And Jey Uso has been, and I wanted to note this, for a while, Jey Uso has been involved in nothing. And I don't mean nothing as in he's not on the show, he's not doing anything. He's doing things, but he's doing things that are kind of like one-offs. He's not getting involved in anything deep. He's not getting involved. He's going to have a match at SummerSlam. At least I don't think so. The reason is, and it has to be, Roman Reigns. Because presumably Roman returns at SummerSlam. Now, it's again, if you heard my last show in the Week in Review, I made the case for him not appearing at SummerSlam and still waiting. But being a fan of WWE for so long, even in the Triple H regime, it kind of makes sense that they would bring him back at SummerSlam. So assuming that Roman is coming back at SummerSlam, Jey can also be involved in some big storyline on Raw if they need him to be involved in this Roman Reigns story to help back up his cousin, with Jimmy also in tow. So I think that's what's going to happen here. And, what I'm thinking too is, it's very interesting the way that they can present Roman Reigns. And I do think that there's almost no bad way to do it. You could have the cousins come out to try to talk sense in his Solo. Again, at SummerSlam after his match with Cody, because we all know that Cody's probably going to retain, but maybe the cousins trying to create some sense and knock some sense into Solo, and they just beat down Jimmy and Jay, or Jimmy gets beat down, Jay comes to Jimmy's aid, and then he gets beat down, and then here comes Roman Reigns. Or they could have Roman come out first. He gets starting to get, he fights off a few spears, maybe Tamatonga or Tongaloa, but ultimately gets put down with a Samoan spike because of Solo. And then you have the cousins of Jimmy and Jay come out to the backup to defend Roman. And then you have, a full reunion there. Now they're going to need another person to balance this whole thing out. I think Paul Heyman does return when this does happen, if it happens at SummerSlam. But that's the reason. Getting back to Jey and Carlito. Fun match. Obviously, Jey should not lose anything right now if they're going to put him in that big of a position with Roman Reigns' return with the original bloodline versus the rogue bloodline. But that's the reason. I mean, you're going to have Jey just kind of doing these quick one-offs, maybe a few weeks things last, and Jey flirting with Rhea Ripley one week and, going against Carlito the next week. And he was involved in the Money Bank ladder match that some of us thought he could win, but then you're thinking, wait, well, if he's involved with Roman, how does this work? That's got to be the reason that Jey Uso, as popular as he is not involved in a long-term anything, because they can't have him tied to something that he's going to, be not a part of soon because of the Roman Reigns return. But Carlito's been also a very nice surprise. Comedic. He has comedic timing that I don't think a lot of us saw or had an opportunity to see before. Carlito, he's still he's a beloved guy. Beyond the fact that he's with a heel group, he's not really a heel. Is that group heel at all anymore? Beyond Dom and JD and kind of Finn? I mean, people don't viscerally hate JD. They know he's just this little, he's just this side character that's there to take the pinfall every time. Finn is a guy that's been heel for a while that the fans, I think, are ready to re-embrace. Rhea, we know what she is. Damian Priest, fans don't hate. So it's really just Dom, who is the one, Dom and a half, which is JD, who are really just the ones who are keeping this Judgment Day group from going full babyface. And if you remember, this whole Judgment Day started with Edge. You guys remember that? A few years ago? When they turned on Edge like prematurely? And yes, it all, I guess, worked out in the end, but I still would have loved to have seen what a heel Edge looked like instead of cutting it short. I will continue to say that years later. It's just funny the way that things go. I mean, I don't think anyone envisioned the Judgment Day being turned into this. And it's been good for everyone involved, though. And they've been a focal point of Raw for several months now, more than a year later, 2 years later. And it's been fun. It's helped JD come into the limelight. Rhea Ripley find a safe place to grow her character, and the fans obviously have loved everything that she's done. And Dom to flesh his heel character out, and Finn Balor have something to do, and obviously Damian Priest have a space to grow. I mean, think where Priest was not too long ago, losing to Bad Bunny. Now, so Priest has come leaps and bounds, and here's something that'll rile up some of my listeners that love it so much when I talk about it. Rhea Ripley's outfit this week. Oh, here he goes. I mean, if you think that's not a nightgown, that's a nightgown. She essentially was wearing a nightgown to Raw. I don't know if she's just trying to show off her tattoos, whatever demonic tattoos that she has on her, which they are demonic. Just look at them. They are. That's not up for debate. She literally has a demon on her chest. It's representative of Satan. I mean, I'm not even kidding about it. Go look at it. That's not my interpretation, or I'm getting all preachy. No, go look. She's very, very, very proud of her tattoos. I don't like them for several different reasons that I won't get into here. But maybe that's what she's trying to do. Show off her tattoos and, hey, look at all this ink I have on me. Doesn't that make me badass? Or it's just, how much skin can I show? I'm strong and sexy. I don't know what it is. I think it's distracting to the male audience. And I don't speak for everybody. I understand that. My question is why? And I don't want to hear the why not. To me, you're the one wearing it. The burden of proof is on you. It's not me. It's on you you're the one doing it that needs to explain why you need to. Why do you feel the need? You're already at the top of your game. Fans have already decided they're going to love you. What's the purpose? We all know that you're in shape. We all know that you're very proud of the landscape that you have inked all over your body. But what is it? I don't know. I don't understand the need for it. I'm not advocating for potato sacks, guys. I know many of you think I'd like to make the Handmaid's Tale a real thing. If that's what you're hearing, you're just, that's what you want to hear. Okay. I just don't understand the need for it outside of just being a conversation piece to get yourself attention. That's all. There's no other reason for it. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Although at the same time, here's the thing. Rhea Ripley cut an awesome promo. She cut a really good promo back at Liv, saying that ending with she's the one who's going to get revenge. I mean, I loved it. I mean, what she had to say back to Liv was really good. If you listen to her counter to Liv, it was good. So that's the thing. Rhea doesn't need to do this. That's my whole point. Is she's so good in the ring. She's got a great presence. Why are we going back to the 1999 outfits? And it just doesn't make sense. Other than just look at me. I mean, so Anyway, sure. Do with that what you will, listeners. All right. So we got, let's see here. What do we got? Oh, Karrion Kross versus Xavier Woods. That was not on the Hulu version, for those of you that watch Hulu like myself. But Karrion Kross did beat Xavier Woods in about 6 minutes, with Kross hitting Woods with the final prayer and pinned him. You know, Xavier Woods, I have been very hard on the New Day. I take zero of that back. I would triple down on it every day of the week. I take nothing back in the criticism of the New Day. It has been and was one of the most abominable, horrible groups in the history of the company, despite the fact, yes, they made a lot of money with all their, all their marketing and bootios and merch and shirts. We get it. My opinion, though, it was an abomination. I hated them. That said, Xavier has been on a losing streak for a while, and at times he has shown how good he can be in the ring solo. I don't mean solo Sikoa, I mean alone. I would like to see an Xavier Woods run by himself. No trumpets, no candy, no video games, no unicorns. Just Xavier Woods in whatever form he wants to show us beyond the New Day form. What is and who is Xavier Woods? Because, again, he's on a losing streak right now. He's been on a losing streak for a while. I think the New Day has quietly, hopefully, been dissolved. I don't need them to fight among one another. The group is 10 years old plus at this point. There's no need for that. If Big E ever comes back, I don't need a reunion. But Xavier Woods at times has shown how good he can be. I remember, and some of you may as well, a few years ago, might have been during the pandemic era, we had a WWE title match between Bobby Lashley and Xavier Woods. I think it was on Raw. And Xavier Woods killed it that night. And I'm thinking, hey, now he didn't win, obviously, but it was a glimpse into what he can do. And I'm thinking to myself, why are we talking about Bootios when this guy's here and has been here all along? He can go. His promos, he's good on the microphone. If he gets away from the silliness, he's really good on the mic. I think you could repackage Xavier Woods. You could rebrand him. I'm not saying into this despicable heel and do a 180. As funny as that would be, that's not what I'm advocating for. Just a more evolved version of Xavier. Whatever that means. Maybe, and just how about this? An adult version of Xavier, because we've been getting the 14-year-old version of Xavier for the past 10 years. So instead of a 14-year-old version of Xavier Woods, how about we get a 34 or 44-year-old version of Xavier Woods? That's what I want to see. If they ever decide to go that road. I mean, that would be my hope. Because again, I've been hard against the New Day because it's all, if you notice, all my criticisms are about character. It's about my personal taste in character and their particular personalities. It has nothing to do against them on a personal level or them against them in ring. What they can do in the ring, what they're capable of. And really, it just comes down to that, and it's nothing against them that they can't be repackaged. Now, what Kofi, I think, no. I have no interest in seeing Kofi. Honestly, if Kofi Kingston retired tomorrow, I mean, I would just say, oh, okay. For me, there'd be no thank you, Kofi. I find his character to me in the New Day was by far one of the worst characters I've ever seen on television. One of the most cringe, as the kids would say, characters I've ever seen that somehow the fans glommed on to and said, this is our guy, because he had a good performance 1 year in the Elimination Chamber, and then Kofi Mania was born. Remember, I think he nearly beat, was Daniel Bryan? He nearly beat Daniel Bryan. We all know what happened at WrestleMania that year. And Kofi can go, but his character is and was just so cringeworthy with his, I mean, I won't get into it. I'll move on. Oh, you won't shut up about Kofi. Yeah, because it was a terrible character. It was awful. It was terrible. All right. We got IC champ Sami Zayn versus Dominic Mysterio in a non-title match. This ended in 8 minutes with Sami beating Dom by DQ because there was a run-in from Carlito and McDonough. And after the match, Carlito and McDonough were putting the boots to Zayn. Jey Uso, though, ran out, cleared the ring of all three heels, and hit a running dive over the top rope onto the three Judgment Day members. And then Braun Breaker comes out and hits the ring, hits Zayn from behind. Breaker runs the ropes for a spear, but Zayn caught him, hits an exploder suplex, went for the hula kick, but Breaker exited. Really nice here. And that's another promo that I didn't talk about. Breaker's promo was very good. How he underestimated Sami, from his stand-up routine, and he, thought it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to beat him, and things are going to be different this time. Breaker did an excellent job in that promo style that really seemed to win the night, I think. And Sami Zayn coming back and saying, you know what, I did beat Braun Breaker, and I did do a stand-up the night before, so how did I do a stand-up the night before and still beat him? And it was good by Sami Zayn too. And I think Braun Breaker has a very good chance at winning at SummerSlam. In fact, there's a good chance that more than one championship changes hands. In fact, I would say if the over-under is 2 championships changing hands at SummerSlam, I would take the over, not the under. And that's difficult to do in the Triple H regime, where he has been very reluctant to just change titles for the sake of it or create some kind of shock. But isn't that the time to do it when you've kind of established and educated the fans that, hey, I only change championships when, things really seem to be working, or rather I seemingly have a long-term plan for it. And then I'm a big fan of long-term title reigns. So Triple H has educated that. He's kind of conditioned, I think is a better word, us to think of that with Triple H. We've associated long title runs with Triple H. So isn't that the time to pull the trigger every once in a while on kind of shock changes? Not just for the sake of shock. There should be some kind of plan. But to once in a while shake things up of, hey, wow, we could have more than, one title change hands tonight. And I think if the over-under is 2, I would take the over. But that's my take. So, all right. Again, but Breaker really, I think, shined in that promo. Still needs some new music, I have to say. But all right. Then we got a Dexter Lumis therapy session, and it talked about when the buzzard starts circling, what do? We run. So that was a nice callback to Bray Wyatt. And let's see here. Sonya Deville, Zoe Stark, and Shayna Baszler versus Lyra Valkyria, Kaden Carter, and Katana Chance. 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Surprisingly long. And Sonya, Zoe, and Shayna beat Lyra, Kaden, and Katana. And it was a Stark hitting Chance with the Z360 to get the victory. And then after the match, Damage Control, Io, Kyrie, and Dakota came out to a really just flat reaction. Sky, Sane, and Kai then quickly cleared Deville, Stark, and Baszler from the ring, and Sky went up top and hit a moonsault onto all three heels. Yeah, I mean, the fans didn't really give a damn about this. Let's just be honest. But it's nice to see them doing something with the women's division that's not just check a box tag team match that's a minute long. And it did give a lot of women some airtime and the illusion that there's a women's tag team division. So it added to that illusion. All right. We got a Gunther promo delivering, one in the empty seats and saying that Damian, he offered Damian the easy way out for a second time in a row. And he had the reaction of a weak man who has no control over his emotions. And Gunther turned his focus to the main event and said he used to look up to Finn. And he was once destined for greater things. And he said Balor became street trash once he started hanging out with Judgment Day. I love this phrase, street trash. It's great. Gunther then closed about talking how fans would never forget the day he saved the sport by winning the world championship. Again, very good. Very good. All right. I think that might do it. Again, Gunther and Finn Balor. Gunther beats Finn in 12 minutes and 10 seconds with the sleeper hold. Bet you didn't see that coming. I know I didn't. So I thought this did exactly what it needed to do for SummerSlam. Was it a SummerSlam show, final show you'll never forget? No. But it was one that I think did exactly what it needed to do. Build up every match to its maximum potential and anticipation. And we'll see if SmackDown can follow this coming Friday. We'll have to wait and see. But even if it does or doesn't, SummerSlam, I think, is poised to be a pretty big show. Potential big returns in Charlotte and Roman Reigns. And yes, there's an outside chance of The Rock, but I think it's unlikely at this point in the year. I think we have to wait a few more months. But that's my take. We also have, again, I think we're in line for several title changes. Several. We'll iron that number down a little bit more specifically in the preview and prediction show in just a couple of days. So, all right. Well, that'll do it for me. Guys, if you want to go ad-free, support the show, and you don't hate everything I had to say about the women's clothing, I'm sure that'll be a big sticking point. And me continuing to complain about the New Day that aren't even on the show anymore. So those are two things that I'm sure I'd love to, give me a 5-star rating for. I'm sure that's what you're thinking as well. Is, man, I love when he talks about those two things. Let me give him 5-star for that. Well, I agree. I think that's what you should do. And but if you do really want to support us, you can go to Patreon and give us give us your business if you want. You don't have to. Obviously, you can listen to everything with ads, totally free. The show is not going anywhere as far as the free feed goes. But if you want to support the show and go ad free, it's as little as $1 to get things started. And so, all right, Apple Podcasts is also an option, or Spotify. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'll talk to you in a couple days. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.